Wow, seems like only maybe 3 minutes ago that we were here together, and here we are again. Okay, so the thing with this page of story problems is that they're all tied together. Almost all of them you can't do independently of one another, so we're going to work them together. Let me pull up those problems. Oh, and maybe present my entire screen so that you can see this and follow along at home. Here we go. Okay, so Tim talks a lot about seals, and that's important, um, but not to the math that we need to do right now. In problem number one, we want to know how many hours a day Tim works. It doesn't talk about his hours per day until this very last paragraph. Right now, I'm coming in at 11 p.m. and staying until noon, taking care of an orphan baby otter. So we've got 11 p.m. to noon. So some people, it took me a little bit of looking at that to go, he's taking care of a baby otter that needs round the clock care, and he's only staying from 11 to 12, which would be an hour. That doesn't seem right. And then I noticed the PM part. That's super important because that's not 11 in the morning, that's 11 at night. He does the night shift. So on our sheet of paper, we are going to start this out. Problem number one. We know that he is going from 11 p.m., which is at night, to noon, which is 12 p.m. We know to get from 11 to 12 a.m., it's just 1 hour. I'm kind of using the number line technique that we did on our first set of story problems. From 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., hopefully by now you realize that this basically counts as a 0 to 12 on a number line, and so that's going to be a total of 12 hours. So if I've got an hour and then 12 more hours, how long do you think he works? Well, in this case, I'm actually going to let you solve this one yourself. Make sure that you label it hours and that you get both parts together. All right, problem number two. So, yeah, I guess I kind of lied. We're not going to do every problem together, just the ones that we can't do otherwise. Here's where things start to get fun. According to Tim, sea otters require 30% of their body weight a day of clams, squid, crab, and mussels. I don't know, but it sounds pretty tasty, although they kind of probably eat them raw. If a sea otter weighs 50 pounds, so here's our first important detail 30%. Also important is the fact that they eat all four of those different things, but it's not important yet. The sea otter weighs 50 pounds, and we need 30% of that. Do you remember how we set up something when we're looking for the percentage of it? I hope so. So I'm going to look back. It was 50 pounds, and we need 30%. Okay. When we want to find a percentage of something, it's like we're taking a part of it. The fact that it's a percentage makes it an automatic. Usually, when we take things into parts, we use fractions, right? We're using division. And 30% is going to make it automatically division, even though the operation that we're using is multiplication. And the way that we do that is by converting this into a decimal. We know that there's multiple ways of converting to a decimal. We know we can do the 30 over 100. If we put that in the calculator, or if we just happen to know, That makes it 0.3. We can say, hey, this percent sign gives me 2 zeros, and that makes me realize that I need to move that 2 places just by memorization, so that once again it's 0.3. However, that you do that, this is a way of turning it into a fraction that we are then going to multiply times 50, even though it doesn't look like a fraction when it's in decimal form. All right, so 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15. This tells me I need to move my decimal 1 place. So instead of 150 pounds of food, he's eating 15 pounds of food per day. I'm going to put pounds of food because we're referring to pounds here, which is his weight, and here it's pounds, but it's not him again. So it's important to have your units on there. Okay, I'm going to box that because we're going to be coming back to it later, as in right now. Okay, so next problem. If Tim wanted to give him equal parts of each food, how much of each food would he give him? We had clams, squid, crab, and mussels. That's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of food. And we know that we're splitting up the 15 pounds. So we're going to take our 15 pounds and we're going to split it into 4 different units because we have 4 different types. 4 can't go into 15 evenly, so we're going to have a decimal. We know the closest we can get to 15 is 4 times 4, which is 16. That's too much. So we're going to say 3. 3 times 4 is 12, leaving us a remainder of 3. We know to extend this on, we need to put in some decimals. So 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 7 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. I'm not done, so I keep going. 4 can go into 20 5 times. So here we are, even out. So the amount that they're going to get per day or per type of food is 3.75 pounds per type. Let's go on to problem number 4. A sea otter pup needs to eat every 3 hours around the clock. How many times do they eat every 24 hours? Okay, so we've got 3 hours is our part of 24. Since we're breaking it into parts, once again, we're going to divide it because that's how you break things into equal parts. 24 divided by 3, we can do that long division wise. We could use a calculator. We could just remember that 3 times 8 is 24. So he needs to be fed 8 times. Or feedings. All right. Going back to the questions. How much of each food would I give him at each feeding? So we're breaking our parts into smaller parts. They want to know how much of the food that we divided earlier we're going to do in 8 feedings. So looking at our problem, we have 3.75 pounds we are breaking up over the space of 8 feedings. Once again, you can use a calculator, whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and long division this. Because let's face it, when you're on the job, you do that a lot. We know 4 times 8 is 32. 7 times 8 is 56. So this has to be 6 times 8 is 54. Now, they're probably going to say that we're going to round it off. Let's look back at our question real fast and make sure that we know. Find the answer to the nearest quarter pound. So a quarter pound is going to be, say, if we had a pound, and we split it up into quarters, as decimals, that would be 0.25, 0.5, and 0.75. 0.46 is really close to 0.5. In fact, if we rounded it, it would round to 0.5 because 6 is higher than 5, which makes the 4 round up to a 5. So he's going to get a half of a pound, 0.5 pound of each food at each feeding. And I know that's a lot to write, but once again, if you're feeding an animal and their food is critical, then you need to know what the 0.5 refers to. It could be 0.5 gallons of milk, except for the fact that that's not what it is. You need to know that it's going to be 0.5 of each type of food, which was half a pound of clams, half a pound of mussels, etc. All right, we're going to go on to the next problem. And this is a different section, so I'm going to flip over to another page and get that lined up really quickly. There we go. Okay. Tim often has to treat sick or injured animals. A dose of antibiotics is required for a sick sea lion. The label says the dose is 35 milliliters per each kilogram the animal weighs. The sea lion weighs 22 kilograms. So number 6, how many milliliters does Tim need for the sea lion? Doing problems like this is super important because if you give the wrong amounts of, say, medicine, you can kill things. It would be the opposite of what we want to achieve here. So we have problem number 6 going. Let's look at our amount. They are 35 milliliters per kilogram, and it weighs 22 kilograms. I'm going to show you how I have that set up on the paper. 35 milliliters per kilogram times 22 kilograms. The 1 is there to hold the place. We know that we're doing the right thing because our kilograms are going to cancel each other instead of multiplying together, because we need to know the number of milliliters at the end, not the number of kilograms. Checking yourself in little ways like that helps you make sure that you're doing the right thing. Okay, so we know that we're going to have milliliters left over. There's 22 left to multiply by 35. So 35 times 22. We know 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. We're going to put a 0 in as a placeholder 2 times 5 is the magical 10 again. And then 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So we add those up, we get 770 milliliters per dose. All right, let's look back at what we've got here. So that's the answer to number 6. Number 7 is independent. They want to know how many beats per minute the seal's heart rate is. This is one of those time questions. We get 23 beats every 15 seconds. And we are looking for beats per minute. They don't give us a straight up number to deal with. This is something where we need to know what's going on and set up what we know. So we have 23 beats every 15 seconds. 23 beats per 15 seconds. We want to think what our units need to be in the end. We need it to be beats per minute. So we know that we are going to convert our seconds into minutes and that we need the minutes to be on the bottom. Since minutes are bigger than seconds, we're going to put the amount of seconds that go into the minute, which is 60 seconds for every minute. Then we are going to cancel some things down. Beats and minutes don't cancel, but the seconds do. 15 can go into 60 a total of 4 times. And then we just multiply the 23 by the 4 to get our final answer. And that's going to be beats per minute. I'm going to check ahead. I think that's another problem that I can let you do on your own. Here we go. When the animals are well, we release them into the wild and track their movement with a satellite tag. The satellite tag is programmed to transmit every 3 days. Number 8, if the battery lasts for 230 transmissions, how many days will the satellite tag last? So this is our last problem. The main thing that you're dealing with here is, are we going to multiply, divide, add, or subtract? That's what we want to think about first. So looking at my paper, I've got problem number 8. I'm going to get my details. I have 230 transmissions, and that happens every 3 days. So one transmission is 3 total days. For every additional day, you're going to get 3 more and 3 more and 3 more. So when we start doing something like that, where it's 3 times a day or 3 days per transmission, we're just going to multiply it. You can figure this out. That's going to give us the number of days. And we don't have to break it down at any more than that. And we're done. If you've got any other questions on that, please feel free to contact me. We can do another video if we need to, or I can just work with you online. Just let me know, and take care. If I can figure out how to turn off this video. Oh, these silly updates are driving me crazy. I'm sure you guys have this happen all the time. Stop in the name of love before I run out of time. Oh my goodness. So, I heard some good jokes that I can't remember right now. Some people's Flipgrid responses have really, really made my day. Just saying. Keep them coming, especially the ones where people manage to be funny and answer the questions. Those are priceless. Um, and I just got a notification that I'm still presenting, and I know that. So, thanks, guys. Um, I know this is frustrating working on your own and doing this stuff, but I think it'll make you stronger in the end. I know it's helping me a little bit, although presentations, maybe not my thing. Strange, but true. All right. See you next time.